Hello everyone, my name is Madeline Davis and my presentation is on Li Young Lee. So a little bit of information about Li Young Lee. He was born in Indonesia in 1957 to Chinese parents who were actually from powerful Chinese families. Lee's great-grandfather was actually the first president of the Republic of China, but they were exiled to Indonesia. And then when anti-Chinese sentiment came to Indonesia, they left and eventually settled in the United States in 1964. Lee started studying poetry while he attended the University of Pittsburgh, and he actually studied with Gerald Stern. So his poetry is influenced by a lot of Chinese poets, for example, Li Bo and Tu Fu. His poetry is actually noted for its use of silence, and he is said to be a lyrical poet. His poetry is very personal and often uses his own memories and life as a narrative in his poems, but to contemplate the universe and a deeper meaning. He's also very spiritual and has described each of his poems as being a descendant of God. So his first poem is Persimmons. And they're kind of long, so I couldn't fit them into this. So Persimmons by Li Young Lee. In 6th grade, Miss Walker slapped the back of my head and made me stand in the corner for not knowing the difference between persimmon and precision. How to choose. Persimmons. This is precision. Ripe ones are soft and brown spotted. Sniff the bottoms. The sweet one will be fragrant. How to eat. Put the knife away, lay down newspaper. Peel the skin tenderly, not to tear the meat. Chew the skin, suck it, and swallow. Now eat the meat of the fruit, so sweet, all of it, to the heart. Donna undresses, her stomach is white. In the yard, dewy and shivering, with crickets, we lie naked, face up, face down. I teach her Chinese. Crickets. Choo choo. Do. I've forgotten. Naked. I've forgotten. Ni wo. You and me. I part her legs. Remember to tell her she is beautiful as the moon. Other words that have got me into trouble were fight and fright, wren and yarn. Fight was what I did when I was frightened. Fright was what I felt when I was fighting. Wrens are small, plain birds. Yarn is what one knits with. Wrens are soft as yarn. My mother made birds out of yarn. I loved to watch her tie the stuff. A bird, a rabbit, a wee man. Mrs. Walker brought a persimmon to class and cut it up so everyone could taste a Chinese apple. Knowing it wasn't ripe or sweet, I didn't eat but watched the other faces. My mother said every persimmon has a sun inside. Something golden, glowing, warms my face. Once in the cellar I found 2 wrapped in newspaper, forgotten and not yet ripe. I took them and set both on my bedroom window sill, where each morning a cardinal sang, "The sun, the sun." Finally understanding he was going blind, my father sat up one night waiting for a song, a ghost. I gave him the persimmons, swelled, heavy as sadness and sweet as love. This year, in the muddy lighting of my parents' cellar, I rummage, looking for something I lost. My father sits on the tired wooden stairs, black cane between his knees, hand over hand, gripping the handle. He's so happy that I've come home. I ask how his eyes are, a stupid question. All gone, he answers. Under some blankets I find a box. Inside the box I find 3 scrolls. I sit beside him and untie 3 paintings by my father. Hibiscus leaf and a white flower. 2 cats preening. 2 persimmons, so full they want to drop from the cloth. He raises both hands to touch the cloth. He asks, "What's this?" "Which is this?" "This is persimmons, father." Oh, feel the wolf tail on the silk, the strength, the tense precision in the wrist. I painted them 100 of times, eyes closed. These I painted blind. Some things never leave a person. Scent of the hair of the one you love, the texture of persimmons in your palm, the ripe weight. So Persimmons is a poem in Lee's voice. a memory from his own childhood. It is free verse and relies on sound and a deliberate use of language and wordplay in the poem that creates its complexities and offers a deeper meaning. The memory touches on Lee's culture and language and struggling with the new culture and language as he ties the two together. And he ends the poem in his father's voice to sort of drive home the sentiment of the persimmon as a really personal symbol to him and his family. So the next poem I have is I Ask My Mother to Sing. She begins, and my grandmother joins her. Mother and daughter sing like young girls. If my father were alive, he would play his accordion and sway like a boat. I've never been in Peking or Summer Palace, nor stood on the great stone boat to watch the rain begin on Kunming Lake, the picnickers running away in the grass. But I love to hear it sung, how the water lilies fill with rain until they overturn, spilling water into water, then rock back and fill with more. Both women have begun to cry, but neither stops her song. I Asked My Mother to Sing is free verse as well, and also in Lee's voice using another memory, but this one centers a little bit more around his mother. It's very lyrical, like the song that he's writing about, and there's almost a beat in the prose-like writing of this poem, and it also touches on how immigration has affected his family, and he displays this through the use of sound in his poetry through vibrant descriptions. So the next poem is Arise, Go Down. Arise, go down. It wasn't the bright hems of the Lord's skirt that brushed my face, and I opened my eyes to see from a cleft in his backside. It's a wasp perched on my left cheek. I keep my eyes closed and stand perfectly still in the garden till it leaves me alone. Not to contemplate how the century ends and the next begins with no one I know, having seen God, but to wonder why I get through most days unscathed, though I live in a time when it might be otherwise, and I grow more fatherless each day. For years now I have come to conclusions without my father's help, discovering on my own what I know, what I don't know, and seeing how one cancels the other. I've become a scholar of cancellations. Here I stand among my father's roses, and see what punctures outnumbers what consoles. The cruel and the tender never make peace, though one climbs, though one descends, petal by petal to the hidden ground no one owns. I see that which is taken away by violence or persuasion. The rose announces on earth the kingdom of gravity. A bird cancels it. My eyelids cancel the bird. Anything might cancel my eyes. Distance, time, war. My father said, "Never take both eyes off the world," before he rocked me. At night we waited for the knock that would have signaled all clear, come now. It would have meant escape. It never came. I didn't make the world I leave you with, he said, and then, being poor, he left me only this world in which there is always a family waiting in terror before they're rended, this world wherein a man might arise, go down and walk along a path, and pause and bow to roses, roses his father raised, and admire them, for one moment unable, thank God, to see in each and every flower the world cancelling itself. So Arise Go Down is a poem, again in free verse, and again in Lee's voice. The poem is a little bit less of a narrative this time and very much more contemplative. He touches on the past again of his immigration and how this affected him and his family. And the poem also includes his father and his father's voice. So the last poem I have is The Gift. To pull the metal splinter from my palm, my father recited a story in a low voice. I watched his lovely face and not the blade. Before the story ended, he'd removed the iron sliver I thought I'd die from. I can't remember the tale, but hear his voice still, a well of dark water, a prayer. And I recall his hands, 2 measures of tenderness he laid against my face, the flames of discipline he raised above my head. Had you entered that afternoon, you would have thought you saw a man planting something in a boy's palm, a silver tear of tiny flame. Had you followed that boy, you would have arrived here, where I bend over my wife's right hand. Look how I shave her thumbnail down so carefully she feels no pain. Watch as I lift the splinter out. I was 7 when my father took my hand like this, and I did not hold that shard between my fingers and think, metal that will bury me. Christen it little assassin, or going deep for my heart. And I did not lift up my wound and cry, Death visited here. I did what a child does when he's given something to keep. I kissed my father. So this poem is about Lee's father taking a splinter out of his hand and how this small moment that might be small to a stranger is one that taught Lee how to love as an adult. His father is very prominent in all of Lee's poetry, and the use of sound in this poem is through his own voice as a child, where he interjects as he examines the splinter pulled from his hand. And so this is my poem that I wrote, and it was inspired by the very first poem that we read, Persimmons, and this one is titled Apples. A dark purple plum tree right outside my window in Colorado. August, when the sun bore down, buttery and crisp. The small purple plums would swell a deep wine color. Fragrant through my open window, I would bring the ones I saved from the squirrels and crows to my mother. Sweet juice would spill down her lips. So delicious. August is my birthday month. This was nature's delicious gift to me. My father never tasted the plums. He said he didn't like them. I once caught him tasting one, the view from my window at midnight. He chopped down the tree one cool day in December, and then my mom and I moved away. My daughter was born in June, her fat cheeks red like juicy apples in August, and I decided the apples were better anyways. So in this poem, I tried to kind of copy the prose-like form that he had, and then also use sound a little bit. I mentioned both of my parents, but I sort of wanted to keep the focus on my mom, who for me was a little bit more prominent in my life, and I wanted to also talk about my childhood, but also bring it into the present by talking about my daughter. So then I just have my works cited. Thank you very much.